And 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, AnimeWho aficionado. Can I get a redo?
We're live, buddy.
Oh, in that case, welcome everyone to Companies That Knew Nothing About Anime Fan Wants. My name is George. I run the Land of Obscusion. It's a blog over at Blogspot where I cover obscure and forgotten anime, manga, gaming, media in general, and yes, this has been for over 10 years. Oh my god, I am getting old. So anyway, this panel is, let's look at what the current anime industry is like. So right now, you got your big name companies, Funimation, Sentai, Crunchyroll. They, are still involved with physical media through partnerships. We got Discotech, Media Blasters are still kicking around. We got some small, newbie companies like Ascendant Animation. They just put out Ishida and Asakura about a month ago or so. But yeah, this panel isn't about any of them. So forget all that. So let's go back in history a little bit. Okay, so then we go back to history. We have Manga Video. We have ADV Films, Pioneer/Genion, Urban Vision, Bandai Entertainment. Hell, even 4Kids. As much as we want to malign them, they were very relevant to creating generations of anime fans. This panel isn't about any of them either. So if you read the description, this is the panel about the also-rans. This is all about companies that have released anime on home video, but either they just didn't really succeed, they didn't really do much in the long run, or they were just these train wrecks that we cannot stop looking at. And let me just to reiterate, this is strictly about companies that have licensed for physical release. Streaming and simulcasting is a completely different world, relatively new compared to physical, and we still need some more time for also-rans to really happen there. So you won't be seeing like Daisuke or Juiced or anything like that. But so what will we see? Well, we're going to go in chronological order, and we're going to start off with actually not US, but the UK with Western Connection. So a few of these I'm going to be categorized as the train wreck category. And for those, we're going to have special ratings for them. Ironically enough, the ratings get worse as we go further into the future to present day. So for Western Connection, they're pretty basic. They're just your standard Jean-Luc Picard facepalm. And we're going to see why. So Western Connection was around from 1993 to 1995. Again, it was based out of the UK and founded by Sasha Cicalo, an immigrant to the UK who accidentally found pay dirt while trying to earn a quick buck. He was licensing pretty much whatever he could, many other European films, and one day he just released an anime, original Japanese, English subtitles, and it did really well. And this is combined with around the time that Helen McCarthy was becoming notable with Anime UK magazine. So there was a market there, and Western Connection decided, hey, let's just keep working with them and do anime. So they did a lot of stuff with Toho, but again, their focus wasn't really on releasing anime in the best quality, so they did it in the cheapest ways possible. They hired Jonathan Clements to do the translation, so the translations themselves were generally good, but they didn't do any quality checks. So if there were any problems, well, who cares? They also used the poorest video stock out there, so even if they got the best masters they could at the time, the releases still kind of looked like crap. They also printed VHS sleeves on low-quality paper, which kind of made them look like bootlegs. Drink of water there. And apparently what they did is they would send review copies to Helen McCarthy and Anime UK magazine ahead of time, so she would write then a synopsis and a review, get coverage in Anime UK to advertise it, and then they always came out before the release. So apparently, Western Connection literally just took the synopses from Anime UK, slapped it on the back cover for the description, and, well, to their credit, they did put Helen McCarthy pull quotes on the front covers. So probably the most interesting story you can kind of find, though this is a Dragnet-style story where all the names have been changed to protect the innocent. If you go to Jonathan Clements' website, Schoolgirl Milky Crisis, there's a story on there. And it's a story about a time that he had to go with a licensor to the airport to pick up some new materials for a new title. And so they got it. The person then gave Clements the script, the original Japanese script, said, okay, I want you to make a translation of this, but can you use it? Can you make a translation without using the letter Y? The Y key on my keyboard is busted, so I won't be able to put the letter Y into the actual subtitles. So if you could do it without Y, that'd be great. So yeah, the Western Connection, those early days of UK, man. They were bought up by a company called Anime Projects, which is also now defunct, in 1996. So what kind of titles did Western Connection release? This is the interesting thing about them, because a lot of what they released to this day has still only ever seen English release in the UK. So we're going to skip Dan Cougar for a moment. And so, yeah, they did the Salamander OVA based off of Konami's Gradius series. That was back when Konami actually did anime releases. They did stuff like Samurai Gold, Space Firebird, which is part of Osamu Tezuka's Phoenix franchise. The Sensualist, which is an erotic historical movie, which is literally the only release that that movie has seen pretty much ever since its original Japanese release. Apparently, two of the producers hate each other so much nowadays that it literally cannot get re-released even in Japan. Galactic Pirates is an English dub of 80s OVA, The Enemies of the Pirates. One of the few dubbed releases that they did. And Slow Step is literally, to this day, the only anime based off a Mitsuru Adachi manga to ever get a physical home video release in English. This did do cross-game, but that was streaming only. But let's move over to Dan Cougar on the left there. So that is not the Dan Cougar or Dan Cougar TV series, but rather that is the movie sequel, God Bless Dan Cougar. That has yet to see official release anywhere else in English, outside of Western Connection. The funniest thing too is this not only predated Central Park Media's old VHS release of Dan Cougar in North America, but it also came out without ever getting the TV series in Europe. So apparently this was done through Toho. This might be why Discotek has yet to license it over here. But even if Discotek was to ever license God Bless Dan Cougar and release it, I guarantee they would not get the same masters that Western Connection did, because God Bless Dan Cougar, while released on VHS, was filmed to be in letterbox format, so like a faux, fake, widescreen format. For whatever reason, though, this is what Western Connection was given for the masters, and this is what they released. Oh, dear God. Oh, the bottom right's amazing. They're so happy. Look at them. They're so happy to have been bisected. Oh, and I love the top middle where it's a group shot, so there's no background. You can see the plate that they filmed the cells on. Oh, man. Discotek, if you ever get God Bless Dan Cougar, please somehow include the UK cut. That would be amazing. Please. So we're going to leave Western Connection. The next one's not a train wreck, but is interesting. That is Star Anime Enterprises. So this is around mainly throughout the mid-90s. This was a U.S. company founded by David Norrell, who formerly worked at Central Park Media and decided to break out on his own. According to Mike Toole, who did a nice article about this company over at Anime News Network as part of the Mike Toole Show segment, apparently he, I think almost to his own admission, he just hassled Japanese companies until one pretty much just said, fine, just take this and leave me alone. And so they, to their credit, they did fully release a softcore 2-episode OVA called Homeroom Affairs in 1996 on VHS. And they did put out one VHS for a fantasy soccer anime TV series called Dragon League. And so it was $24.95 in 1998. That equates to about $40 in the year 2021. And if you remember, at this time, most VHS releases of anime were just 2 episodes. Therefore, no one should ever complain about a 13-episode TV series being worth $60. So let's just move on. That's all for Star Anime. They're pretty basic. So up next, we're going to go back to the UK one more time for Crusader Video. This is such a obscure company that I don't even have the logo for them. But this was apparently a UK company that only ever released a single VHS tape. It had the first 3 episodes of All-Purpose Cultural Catgirl Nuku Nuku's OVA series. This was a dub-only release, actually, no sub to my knowledge, and it is an infamous dub, kind of, because it has all sorts of various British dialects. You know, most people, when they think British dialects, they think very standard ones like Cockney or your standard London accent and stuff like that. So apparently this one's really interesting if you want to hear the different types of British dialects that you have over in the UK. But thankfully, you don't have to hunt down this VHS tape. Discotek released all of Nuku Nuku, both the OVA and TV series, on SD Blu-ray, and they included the dub by Crusader video. So if you want to get that released, you can check out this dub and see the uniqueness of it. So we're going to keep on going to the next one. This is a fun one. Super Techno Arts. So this is a company that was around from 1999 to 2008, almost a solid decade. And this was pretty much the American division of Studio APPP, or Another Pushpin Planning. And apparently, Super Techno Arts, or STA, was run by a single person, which is translator / animator Cindy H. Yamauchi, who still works in the industry to this day, I believe. And yeah, while they existed for a near decade, the only thing that Super Techno Arts ever actually managed to release was the original JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA series, which, okay, so let's get this in order. It's 2 OVA series. The first one was in the early 90s after part 3 ended and covers the second half, parts of it. Then in 2000, they did another OVA series that covers the first half, parts of it. Super Techno Arts then released all 13 episodes in proper story chronological order. So you start with the second OVA series and end with the first OVA series. Hopefully I didn't confuse you all right there. But yeah, so they released that 13 episodes across 6 DVDs from 2003 to 2004. They also put out a making of VHS, the only VHS tape they ever put out, and I don't believe it's an extra on any of the DVDs. And eventually, Super Techno Arts just kind of closed shop in 2008. They had constantly announced that they had plans to put out titles like Sci-Fi Harry, which is from the same creator as Nighthead, which is getting a new anime adaptation very soon. They were also going to put out a ninja kinda hentai series called Shadow. I think that was an OVA. And they always wanted to re-release the anthology movie Robot Carnival. That last one at least did eventually see a license rescue from Discotek. So we're going to continue on. This is Hirameki International Group. So this is a kind of an interesting one. The company was around from 2000 to 2012. But we're going to focus primarily on just couple years that they had. But originally they were founded in 2000, and their claim to fame initially was releasing and translating visual novels that were released on PC and that's not a mistake. Yeah, DVD. Okay, so yeah, they put out Ayori Aoshi, Exodus Guilty, Phantom of Inferno, Ever 17, Yojimbo, a bunch of other stuff. I'm actually turning my head right now, and I'm looking at some of the DVD releases that they put out. I actually have all of Exodus Guilty on DVD. Yeah, so that's weird. So they were way ahead of their time on doing visual novels. But in 2003 and 2004, they tried releasing anime. So they put out all of a short OVA called Idol Fighter Tsuchi Pai, which is based off of a strip mahjong series, video game series. But hey, you got characters designed by Kanichi Sonoda of Gunsmith Cats fame. And they put out 3 volumes of a children's TV series called Sorhai Isami, which is about 3 kids that gain the power of the mystic Shinsengumi to take on evil. You know, I remember when I first went to anime cons and they were still around. It was interesting. But so, you know, enough of these easygoing companies. Let's go to another train wreck. Though, to be fair, this next one's a little harsh to call a train wreck. It's not all their fault. Though calling themselves Anime Crash was probably not the best idea. So this rating, the double face palm. Because one face palm doesn't quite cut it, but again, not fully their fault, and we'll get into that right now. So first and foremost, Anime Crash was originally founded by Chris Parenti in 1995, and it was a store based in New York City that was mainly for anime. And it found great success. I believe they wound up having stores in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, I believe. Justin Savakis did an excellent article about Anime Crash over on Anime News Network a number of years ago, including he interviewed one of the former employees. Great history on it. And yeah, they did so well. They got a lot of advertisement and they worked with a lot of anime companies for promotion. So in 2000, Parenti decided to enter the home video industry and do it themselves. So they went and they pretty much just grabbed whatever they could, no matter what it was. So they licensed Korean anime like Ki Fighter Taedong, which is a children's series, or Olympus Guardians, which is about the Greek pantheon and mythology. And they also grabbed this Korean-Japanese co-production called Geister's Fractions of the Earth, while also helping produce a pilot for an anime called Genjiku Senki Shiden. And this pilot is actually available on YouTube. After doing the article, Justin Savakis was able to get the pilot from the ex-employee, and pretty much all the companies that produce this pilot are pretty much long out of business. So Justin figured, hey, I could put it up on YouTube. If you search Shiden anime pilot, I think it's like the first result. It's only in Japanese, no subtitles, but it's still worth checking out. It's something that we weren't really allowed to see, and now it's available publicly. But anyway, out of all the anime that Anime Crash licensed, they only ever released Geisters, and they only ever put out 3 volumes, which covers the first half of the show, before it went unfinished in 2005 because the Japanese licensor Groove Corporation went out of business. The wild story I once heard is that one of the main people in charge, I'm not sure if it was the CEO or not, allegedly just took all the money, took all the masters for all the shows that they had, and just left and just disappeared. And Groove Corporation was literally left with no way to release anything. Which is a shame, though, because apparently Anime Crash still had the masters for themselves for Geisters that they could release. But since Groove Corporation wasn't in existence anymore, legally they couldn't continue releasing it. Because that didn't kill the company. The company still continued to exist for a couple years, but crashed, pun fully intended, after they accidentally, illegally released some Toshiro Mifune films that Criterion had the rights to. For some reason, they were under the belief that it was in the public domain. So they put a box set out. Criterion contacted them and said, hey, you got to take this off the shelves before we sue you. And yeah, that pretty much was the end of Anime Crash. They eventually died out in 2007. So you can see where the face palms are worthy, but it's not always their fault. They had the best intentions, just things just did not work out for them. Another company in which things did not work out, but in much more simple and banal ways, is Arts Magic, or Arts Magic DVD, I guess was their full name. So this, I'm not really sure. This company looks like they might have started around 2004. And originally, they focused primarily on live-action Yakuza films, especially stuff put out by Takeshi Miike. So eventually, they decided to start doing anime. They started off with early CG films like Alice, Blue Remains, and Malice Doll, which, yeah, if you look at what those covers look like, that is exactly what those CG movies look like. And yeah, those have not aged gracefully at all. But in 2005 and 2006, they put out a traditionally animated TV series in Salaryman Kentaro, which is indeed a really cool show and got a lot of positive acclaim by various websites, Anime News Network, and any other sites that would write about anime. They pretty much praised Salaryman Kentaro, and the later volumes all had pull quotes just talking about how awesome the show is. But again, it's a show about an ex-biker gang leader who now has to enter the workforce to raise his kid after his wife dies. And while he tries to, of course, change things up because he's a badass, it's not really the type of show that has a market in the mid-2000s and arguably might not have a market today, unfortunately, still. Oddly enough, the company might still exist. If you look online for Arts Magic DVD, you will come across a website, and it's a company that sells all sorts of random documentaries. I don't know if that's the same company or if maybe someone just bought the rights to the name after the original company went out of business. I don't know. But so up next, we're going to go over 2 companies, and these we're going to take some time. We're only about barely halfway in. These are 2 companies which are examples of how Japanese anime studios thought they knew better. And they didn't. So up next is Toei Animation. Yep, the lovable company that is beloved / hated, depending on which show you're talking about, the world over. And of course, they have a mascot that is a cat, Puss in Boots himself. So of course, our rating for that is going to be the cat face palm, because even your cat knows this was stupid. So Toei Animation. In 2005, Toei's US division worked with Geneon to release English DVDs. Toei would produce the DVDs and Geneon would distribute them. They put out 3 series: the iconic basketball classic Slam Dunk, the cult classic action series Airmaster, and a short little OVA called Interlude, which I believe was based off of a video game. Toei also produced the English dub for Bobo 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 Bo that aired on television over on Toonami. So that's one good thing for them. Unfortunately, Toei's DVDs were very poorly made. Apparently, there were no chapter breaks. So if you wanted to skip the opening, then screw you. You have to do fast forward. Apparently, they returned to the main menu after each episode, so you couldn't easily binge the DVDs. And the subtitles were literally just dub titles with closed captions. Because why even do a translation? And along with no marketing from Geneon, they just agreed to this and were just like, here, put them out. Yeah, I think only 4 DVDs of Slam Dunk came out, 3 for Airmaster. But luckily, Interlude was fully released because that's just 1 DVD. But luckily, while this is chronological, this is also, as I said, a sliding scale of worseness sometimes. So while Toei made their mistakes, they are nothing in comparison to my favorite, Bandai Visual USA and the Honiamas label. And I'm sure most of you, I can't see the chat right now, but I'm sure most of you are probably thinking of this company. For those who aren't familiar, Bandai Visual is one of the biggest names in Japan when it comes to releasing anime on home video. So when you have one of the biggest names in Japan and they fail, your only appropriate rating is the Godzilla facepalm, because you know it is that epic. So Bandai Visual USA, not to be confused with Bandai Entertainment, which I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose. This ran from 2005 to 2008. As you can tell from the title, this was the US division of Bandai Visual. And their intention was pretty much to release anime in the US with the same quality as that of Japan. Literally, their releases were the same exact stuff that Japan got. And at the time, Japanese DVDs tended to have better visuals, better bitrate, because they had fewer episodes on them than the American releases. Unfortunately, getting the same releases while coming with great extras like nice, thick, booklets, fully translated into English and everything, they were sold at the same exorbitant price as in Japan. They were essentially selling Japanese anime DVDs, under Region 1 with Japanese prices. But we'll see in a moment, they had none of the notable appeal that for the American fandom at the time. They were putting out stuff that, not bad, but just didn't have the fandom that would warrant paying those crazy prices. And, being a Japanese company, they decided to try to stick with it. They're going to stick with this. And in 2008, they were merged and liquidated with Bandai Entertainment USA. A number of these titles have since been licensed rescued, some by Sentai / Made in Japan, some by Discotech. But for anyone who knows the history of Bandai Visual USA, there is one image that is burned into all of our minds. Please say it with me. Bandai Visual Company Limited and Bandai Visual USA Incorporated. We know everything about anime fan wants. That's right. This is the namesake of this panel. I believe this was, Seishin-Con or Sakura-Con in 2006 or so. This is a literal slide from an actual panel that Bandai Visual USA held at an Anime Con in front of actual paying Anime Con attendees in North America. And it perfectly encapsulates what went wrong with Bandai Visual USA. It is pure hubris, thinking that they knew better than the American companies that were succeeding. But again, it's not like they had no merit. The titles they put out, not all of them were great, but there were some strong stuff. Their first release was Gunbuster, which actually did pretty well for them. And to this day is the last original release of that OVA version in North America. We've since gotten the movie version, which Bandai Visual also put out and Made in Japan re-released. They also put out Demon Prince Enma, which is a reinterpretation of Gonagai's Dororo and Enma-kun. They put out Wings of Rain, which is, this in-universe far sequel to Garzy's Wing and Our Battler Dunbine. Galaxy Angel Rune, which has actually technically been licensed rescued by Right Stuff. It is available via streaming technically, and they probably will eventually put out a home video release for it. Super Robot Wars Original Generation, both the OVA and the first season Divine Wars. Media Blasters have since rescued that. Gunbuster 2, aka Die Buster, both the original OVA version and the movie version. But so far, only the OVA version has since been license rescued. And Freedom, which was one of their big titles they tried pushing. Character designs by Katsuhiro Otomo. It's a pretty good OVA. Discotek has re-released it. But if you want even more of that hubris, Freedom was released on DVD and the glorious future home video format, HD DVD. They did a Blu-ray eventually, but yeah, they really had made all the right decisions. But the best decision of all is that right there in the middle next to Freedom. Patlabor, the movie, both movie 1 and movie 2. Iconic classic movies by Mamoru Oshii, and they were given limited collector's editions where you got the movie on Blu-ray, you got a bonus disc, you got a nice hardbound book of other written extras. You also had the literal storyboards of each film in their own booklets. Each movie had their own limited collector's edition. And I like to say the word limited to 10,000 copies. Who does that? This is even in the 2000s during the big anime boom. If you were selling 10,000 units, you were probably considered at least decently doing well. But this is the limited collector's edition. It literally took about maybe 2 or 3 years ago for these to finally stop being available on Amazon, brand new for $20. If you want even better comparison, Made in Japan has re-released all of Patlabor, OVAs, movies, TV series, in one giant Blu-ray box set. I believe the MSRP for that is about $70, which, if I remember correctly, was the MSRP for each of these limited collector's editions. Oh, dear God. Okay, so let's stop ragging on Bandai Visual USA. Who else do we have next? Oh, dear God. No, Illumatooon. So yeah, I'm facepalming right now. So your rating is the mass facepalm from Naked Gun 33 1/3 because, oh dear sweet Lord, why do we have to go through this company? So Illumatooon, this was around from 2006, and I put a question mark next to 2011 because their website kept updating the year until 2011, so I'm going to call it as that. This was founded by Barry Watson, who co-founded Funimation with so he was part of Funimation. He knew what made at least a decent to good anime release. You know, this is the early Funimation, so they weren't always perfect, but they still were successful. So he founded Illumatooon. He wanted to be kind of like a fusion of 4Kids and a traditional anime company. So you would produce edited dubs for TV, but those dubs would initially be dubbed uncut. So you could then release proper dual audio versions on DVD. Okay, concept, it's not too bad. So they licensed Bobo for home video. Toei didn't do a home video version for Bobo. They licensed Beat X from Masami Kuramada. They licensed the Beat the Vandal Buster anime, no relation to Beat X. And they licensed Get Ride Am Driver, which is a Power Suit series from the mid-2000s. But they only ever released 5 individual DVD singles before being dropped by the distributor. I have never heard of that before, but apparently an anime company did so badly that their distributor wanted nothing to do with them. That's just sad. So luckily, Beat X did get rescued by Anime Midstream and released in both 2018 and 2019, both seasons with a brand new English dub that's outstanding. You can get it on Right Stuff or Amazon right now. People that are bringing up Bobo in the chat, we will get back to Bobo. So anyway, what went wrong with Illumatooon? Well, first off, they went full bore with being like 4Kids. So they replaced all of the original music for their dubs. Again, they did not do the Bobo dub because that was by Toei. So Beat the Vandal Buster Volume 1 was the first thing they ever put out. And they decided, okay, well, you want those original OP and ED sequences. Well, those are extras. They're not part of the actual product. So first off, what the hell? Second off, they were so poorly encoded, I think I could have done a better job back in 2006, and I didn't even know how to use a video editing program back then. Also, just like Toei, their subtitles were a copy of the inaccurate dub script, complete with closed captions. Yay. Eventually, they did learn their lesson. Beat X Volume 2, which was the last DVD they ever put out, had proper subs. They apparently also did a trade-in program to replace other DVDs that people send in for. Apparently, they were done on DVD-Rs, though, because they were cheap and are super rare. Also, these dubs for Beat X, and Amdriver, none of them ever got finished. Beat X and Amdriver only got the first 14 episodes. We have no idea how many episodes of Beat got dubbed because only the first DVD came out. As you can tell, Beat Volume 2 and Bobo Volume 3 never came out, though they got covers. I would imagine, though, they got the same amount as Beat X and Amdriver, and the only reason we even know about Beat X and Amdriver having 14 episodes dubbed was because they both had a year-long dub-only stint on the Anime Network On Demand in 2008. And yeah, as you can tell, Amdriver didn't even see a DVD release. So great going, Illumatooon. Yay. All right, so, okay, we got something simple now. I don't have to keep reminding myself of these pains. So this is a fun one. New Galaxy Anime. This one almost feel like not wanting to mention, but it's just so quick, it's so funny. So in October 2007, news articles and a press release, I believe, came out from a California-based company founded by Catherine Hennessy with the intent to focus on shoujo anime properties. Sounds really cool. New Galaxy announced the license for all 3 of the Unico movies based on Osamu Tezuka's manga, and they were never heard from again. After this press release, you never heard from New Galaxy Anime. They just disappeared into the aether. Discotek would then license all 3 movies in 2011. You can now buy all the Unico movies on Blu-ray. But at least they had a memorable name, right? Yeah, New Galaxy. That's a good title. It's way better than AnimeWho. Who? Woo! AnimeWho. Yeah, not based off the Who, based off the owl. Nice pun. So in 2008, this company came from out of nowhere and announced that they had licensed Futari no Joe as Joe vs. Joe. This is a 6-episode OVA based off of a novel, which was written by the brother of one of the co-creators of Ashita no Joe. So I think that alone should tell you everything you need to really know about that anime. While it was never confirmed, people did try to look into what AnimeWho was, and it seemed to be an offshoot of Japan Anime, which was a company that licensed and released hentai in North America. Pretty much around this time, the hentai industry was hurt heavily because of censorship. Japanese companies were very unwilling to let the American licensors release hentai completely uncensored without mosaics, and that really started hurting the hentai anime industry. And that's why today you really only have Kiddie Media and Critical Mass for anime, at least. So they put out Joe vs. Joe across 2 DVDs. Were never seen from again. They featured English and Spanish subs. There was a kind of decent dub by NYAV Post. You can choose between white or yellow subtitles because they knew that people had a preference. So they just gave them the option for both. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing about AnimeWho. Let's move on. Oh, no, wait. Should I move on? Do I have time? Oh, of course I have time. I'm only halfway done. I'm going really fast. Yay! Who wants s'mores? S'more Entertainment. So this is a weird one because technically they aren't a traditional anime company, but yeah, for those who know about S'more, they are worthy of this induction for this panel, and their rating is the quadruple facepalm. They break all sense of physics and logic to have 4 hands holding their head because what the hell. So S'more Entertainment, this was founded in 2006 by people who used to work at Rhino Entertainment, who were probably best known at that time for putting out the Transformers original G1 series on DVD prior to Shout Factory. So S'more was pretty much founded by the people who did not work on Transformers. So that should tell you something right there. So in 2012, they went to Toei and they licensed Bobo, and Galaxy Express 39, the TV series. And they tried to release them on DVD. They did release them on DVD, but they weren't good. So they had horrible excuses. We'll get to that in a minute. But thankfully, S'more Entertainment is completely redundant because Discotek has since rescued and fully released both shows. I don't think I've ever seen that happen to a prior anime company before. Bravo! So, what went wrong? What was so horrible? Well, Bobo was advertised as dual audio, which it technically was, but there were no English subtitles offered. Yay. In its place, they offered, I believe, the dub translation as on-disk PDF files, and I kid you not, I believe they even told people to print them out to enjoy the show with. Like that early 90s AnimeCon experience. There were also no on-screen subtitles, which for Bobo is absolutely insane because it is heavy on visual jokes. Just ask anyone who at Discotheque who worked on the show. As for Galaxy Express 39, oh man, people got those DVDs and then they saw they were the low-quality video from the old online streams, complete with burned-in hard subs. And this wasn't because Toei did it necessarily. It's because S'more asked for that version. When people, aka fans, asked, why did you do that? Why don't you translate it yourself? S'more literally said translating it from scratch for proper subtitles was too expensive, proving that they knew nothing about hiring freelancers, which is literally what all other anime companies do. So they probably thought they had to go to a professional, like an actual like translation service that like big name companies would go to usually. And in fact, I think even the big name companies at this point rely on freelancers. What the hell's wrong with them? So also, while the cover we see here is actually decent, this was the final release for, I think, the first set. When they got to the second set, they showed off really badly done packaging art on their Facebook page. And people complained, understandably. And then they showed better artwork saying, hey, we've updated our artwork. And apparently their excuse was that they purposely showed the horrible packaging as a way to get people's attention so that when they showed the good artwork later on, they'd be like, yay! Yes, that sounds completely insane, but that is pretty much their literal excuse. And wow, this did go by faster than I hoped. But hey, I guess we'll have some fun. I'm not for Q&A, but I guess we'll do that for some fun. So what's next? Oh no. Oh no. 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 I'm done. I'm done. Oh, we are all done. Okay, let's get into Crimson Star Media. Deep breath. So in the second half of 2013, an anime fan called Corey Maddox somehow managed to work a deal with Pony Canyon and license the OVA Looking Up at the Half Moon. Later on, we found out that he licensed it and paid for it using his student loans. I mean, at the very least, he hired Neil Nadelman to do the translation. Neil Nadelman's a great translator. He's been in the industry for decades. So then he went to SeishinCon to announce the license. And then he was arrested and later sentenced in October for breaking probation by attending SeishinCon. What exactly was he breaking probation for? This is kind of an all ages panel, so I don't want to go in that direction, but it's not nice. Apparently, also, when Crimson Star was first announced, people brought up how Maddox was already infamous for trying to scam fans years prior with a fan dubbing attempt. So he already was skating on thin ice from the start, and then he got arrested. You can go to Anime News Network, search Crimson Star Media, and find his mugshot on the articles. Thankfully, Right Stuff did rescue Looking Up at the Half Moon and released it on DVD in 2015. So that's a good story. And so after this exciting history we've gone through, what can we learn? Well, first off, releasing anime is very tricky. However, licensing can be way easier than you think. Like, seriously, about maybe a little less than 10 years ago, I sent an email to Dentsu USA as a joke stating, hey, I'm thinking of starting an anime company. I'd like to see what you have to license. I got a response back that included a PDF of the catalog of anime they had the rights to license out. There were no costs or anything, but it was literally, these are the titles we have the rights to. I got further into licensing anime than AnimeTube did, and I wasn't even serious about it. But again, the passion, you can only get so far with passion. Being passionate is great, but anime fandom is known to be one of the most strictest and harshest critics of releases. Anime fandom demands quality and will quickly and harshly lash out at any lackluster releases. Any of these train wreck companies that I talked about, they pretty much all got some sort of backlash. I'm sure Western Connection got it from the UK fans way back in the 90s. But yeah. And so, sometimes you just put out good shows and it just doesn't sell. Arts Magic, they put out Cyberman Kintaro. I would love to see Kintaro get re-released. That's a great show, but it just wasn't a show that had a market. But yeah, you have to understand the difference between Japanese and American fans. It's imperative. When Henry Goto, left Geneon after its destruction and opened up Aniplex of America, he obviously learned from Bandai Visual USA's mistakes. As much as people complained about Aniplex of America, they offered the shows that people were willing to spend hundreds of dollars on. They were good releases, and they were available via streaming. Who knows? Maybe if streaming was around for Bandai Visual USA, maybe they would have tried that too. Though even today, Bandai Visual is kind of very spotty on doing that outside Japan. And, I have one more thing here. The greatest lesson of all, don't license anime using your student loans. I don't think any of you are listening. Don't license anime using your student loans. Even when Corey Maddox probably gets out of jail, he might have gone out of jail right now. Who knows? His life's ruined. Thank you. I am George from the Land of Obscusion, and I hope you've had a great time. We have 19 minutes, so I guess, JP, if you want to open it up to the chat and see if they have any questions. I don't know what I can answer, but we'll see.
That was incredible.
Because usually if I did this in person, when I did this 2 years ago, the only time I've done it in person, I had one of the Pat Labor sets to give away.
Oh,
and nice. I have stuff to give away, but we're online and there's no way we can do a giveaway, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I imagine too, doing this in person, people are probably shouting things at the screen as they do.
Because you could still buy the Bandai Visual USA stuff. A lot of their DVD singles are like $2 over on Right Stuff to this day. Like Gunbuster 2, Enma, Wings of Rain, they are literally still $2 on Right Stuff. That's how many they made.
Daryl is asking if you're comfortable using a webcam to show the releases.
No, I don't really have any good webcam except for my laptop, and I'm using my desktop for a good internet connection.
Fair enough. I also... I pulled out the webcam out of a box. I'm on a desktop, but I usually don't leave it connected.
Beyond that, so.
This is a very well-attended panel. I think you may now have the number 2 spot of the weekend. You knocked out the Cartoon Network panel.
There are still some other great panels coming on. I'm sure someone will top me.
I mean, as much as I love you having that spot, I hope you're correct. I will not complain if more people come.
Exactly.
And mostly just comments in the chat so far. A lot of people.
If you see any good ones, let me know.
I guess I'd be curious, and if you talked about this one, it might have been when I stepped away to get some food. Would you consider Tokyo Pop's brief anime run as an also ran? Because they didn't finish a lot of those releases.
Honestly, when I first did this panel 2 years ago, and I've only done slight updates for this year, I honestly kind of forgot about Tokyo Pop.
Fair.
I guess you could. It's one of, I really don't think I have any companies that, it's like if I was to do this for manga, I guess you'd have to include ADV manga. Like it's kind of like that category. Like, yeah, they tried, they failed, but then they kind of just stopped. They knew when to stop.
Everyone's calling me out and saying they finished most of their releases. I'm just salty about Rave Master. That's what it comes down to. Let's see. Sync Point, Mike is saying, should have come up. Did you not mention them?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I guess they could. They arguably kind of succeeded because they had Fooly Cooly. That's like the only reason they really did succeed. But they like if you have Fooly Cooly, that's got to count for something.
Was that the company that did 5-star stories?
No, that was ADV.
That was ADV. Oh,
ADV put out the OVA, and then Mamoru Nagano's company does the manga.
Oh, that's probably what I'm thinking of. I remember these ads in New Type that would be just a bunch of covers, and I didn't know what it was, so I didn't realize that those weren't DVDs.
Yeah, Sync Point had Fooly Cooly, so again, that was really successful. They had I'm Gonna Be an Angel, which wasn't completed. I think they had maybe one other anime. Like it was weird. That was Broccoli, a Japanese company as well. But again, they had Fooly Cooly, so I kind of hesitate to call them an also ran because they had one giant hit title.
Let's see what else is in here. A lot of people talking about Fooly Cooly. They had the original Digi-Charat anime, apparently. I didn't know that came out on DVD.
I think I remember that, yeah. I remember them putting that out.
They're making a new one of those. I saw Twitter was very excited about that, which was surprising to me. I didn't know anyone liked Digi-Charat.
I know they got re-released. I think Sentai put that out on SD Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I do remember that now. Somebody is saying, I'm going to be an Angels, reportedly Stephanie Shea's favorite show to work on.
I hear it's a good show, so.
Sam apparently has a limited edition Digi-Charat shirt that she won in a contest that SyncPoint did.
Yeah, Sync Point lasted for I think a lot longer than people really remember. So that I guess I could put them in, but it would be like with a kind of disclaimer. They actually were successful because of one giant title.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think this was Sony, so it might not be fair since they're a giant company. But I remember a lot of never finished releases in the early 2000s, like Blood Plus and Cyborg 009. I don't know if those would count.
Sony they still occasionally put out anime though, and now that they own Funimation, it's like, who cares? Sure.
I remember for a long time being really salty about that.
I think my main thing was primarily they had to deal primarily in anime. S'more was the only exception because of how badly they botched everything.
Sure. Daryl saying Sony's Astro Boy and Cyborg 009 releases sure were something.
Yeah, and they still got Astro Boy technically, so yay.
I bought that, I think it was like one disc that they released of 009, and I don't think I ever watched it. That must have been a really bad release. The chat's saying a lot of negative things about it.
Yeah, I think I heard it wasn't a good release, but hey, we got Discotheque, so that's good.
Oh yeah, that was... I still can't believe that came out. I bought that as soon as it came out. Somewhere Justin's clutching his chest in pain. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Go ahead.
You bring up Justin. I guess maybe I could put up Imagination because they did that burn on DVD thing for for anime releases.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's another one I could do in the future. So hey, that's a good reminder.
I was misremembering the names, and I thought that was Illumatooon when you brought it up. Just because there were so many companies so quickly, and I would just see the ads in the magazines. Because I mean, when all of this was happening, I didn't have the money to buy any DVDs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Stylus TAW says, "Did anybody watch Nobody's Boy Remy?"
Apparently not, according to Justin. I think that was like barely sold, unfortunately.
I think Gerald is the only person I've ever heard talk about it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I ever bought from them was Orgus, and then I sold that back on eBay when Discotheque rescued it.
Oh, here we go. From Brainchild, of all the releases mentioned, what are your personal favorites, be it for legit reasons or ironic reasons?
Again, I actually have only seen the first disc of it, but Salaryman Kentaro, I still have those DVDs. That said, that's what I've seen is really good, and generally, again, it got a lot of critical praise, and Arts Magic was smart to put those pull quotes on, so that's a good one. Let me look over the list I have here of the companies. Super Techno Arts, they put out the JoJo. Yeah, who knows if we'll ever get those OVAs again, so I'm glad to have those releases, and they are good releases. Bandai Visual USA, again, their problem was just hubris. The stuff they put out was, on the whole, good to great. So, and their releases are good. It's just they didn't sell at the time. And I guess just for the irony, I guess Illumatooon, just because you think they would know better, judging by who the founder was, but they obviously didn't know better. And Western Connection. I don't have any of the releases, but everything I've heard about them just makes them sound like a trip to check out.
Well, I'm not seeing a ton of questions. You're welcome to hang out and talk to the chat. You've got 10 more minutes. Otherwise, if you want to wrap it up, we can.
You know what? We kind of had to rush into this from last time, so let's make it up. Yeah, let's cut it here, and then the chat, everyone can get an extra minutes.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your weekend to join us. This was a great panel.
Thanks for doing this again.
And we may be posting this later. We'll see.
Awesome.
Well, cheers. You have a great rest of your day.
I'll be back in the chat in a few moments.